In January 2006, a bright, ambitious young woman vanished without a trace. Her name was Jennifer Kesse, and her disappearance remains one of the most haunting and baffling mysteries in the United States. A woman who had everything going for her, a loving family, a stable career, and a new life ahead, suddenly disappeared in what should have been a safe place. And while the clues seemed to be there from the beginning, what followed was a series of unexplainable mistakes, lost evidence, and suspicious gaps that made many wonder. Was this just incompetence? Or was someone trying to make sure the truth never came out?
Jennifer has vanished.
What could have happened? Where could Jennifer be?
Welcome to the Dark Enigma. It all started on January 24, 2006, in Orlando, Florida. Jennifer, 24 years old, worked as a project manager for a timeshare company. She had just returned from a vacation with her boyfriend, Rob, and was back to her routine life. The night before, she called her family and Rob. Everything seemed perfectly normal. She told her parents about her plans for work and that she'd call them the next morning. But that call never came. When Jennifer didn't show up for work, her employer contacted her parents.
We got a phone call. Was Jennifer okay?
She didn't show up for work today.
Totally out of character for Jennifer.
They immediately knew something was wrong. Jennifer was responsible, punctual, and cautious. For her to disappear without a word, that wasn't just unusual, it was unthinkable. Her family drove to her apartment, and from the moment they arrived, things felt off. Her car was missing, but all her belongings, phone charger, luggage, makeup, even clothes laid out for work, were still inside. It looked as if she had gotten ready for work and then vanished mid-routine. But what happened next would later be described as one of the biggest investigative failures in Florida's history. Police didn't treat the scene as a potential crime scene. They assumed Jennifer might have gone somewhere voluntarily, maybe a spontaneous trip, maybe a fight with her boyfriend. Her family, desperate for answers, began cleaning her apartment, trying to find clues, unknowingly destroying potential evidence. Fingerprints, DNA, trace evidence, all gone forever.
It was never secured by Orlando police. By the time they took it seriously, we had 14 people in the condo, and they said, "Well, you ruined the crime scene." And I said, "Are you kidding me?"
2 days later, a major clue surfaced. Jennifer's black Chevy Malibu was found parked at a nearby apartment complex, about 1.5 miles away. At first glance, it seemed untouched. But inside, there were a few strange details. The driver's seat was moved far back, suggesting someone taller had been behind the wheel. And small fingerprints, likely a child's, were found on the exterior. But the real mystery came from security footage. A camera captured a figure walking away from Jennifer's parked car just minutes after it was left there. The person's identity, however, remains one of the most chilling coincidences in true crime history.
Apparently this video, when it films, captures every 2 to 3 seconds as it's filming, so that's why you only see the subject on one side of the gate and then the opposite side of the gate, and he's blocked by the posts on either side of the gate.
In all 3 frames where the figure appears, their face is completely obscured by a gate post, each time perfectly aligned, as if the universe itself conspired to hide them. Even the FBI admitted it was bizarre, a 1 in a million coincidence. Some believe the footage might have been tampered with, or that the real suspect never appeared on that tape at all. Before she vanished, Jennifer had voiced her discomfort to family and friends. She told them she often felt watched and followed around her apartment complex. At that time, the building was undergoing heavy renovations. Dozens of construction and contract workers, many undocumented, were on site daily. Jennifer mentioned that some would whistle, catcall, or stare whenever she came or went. Her father later said she felt unsafe, but didn't think it was serious enough to move.
She just said, you know, there's a lot of workers here and they tend to just stop when I'm walking by or going to my car and they just look.
After her disappearance, police questioned a few of the workers, but not all of them. No official list of who worked there that day was ever made public. And when private investigators tried to retrace that angle years later, many of those workers had vanished or returned to their home countries. For Jennifer's parents, the worst part wasn't just losing their daughter, it was realizing how poorly the case was handled. Police failed to secure critical evidence, ignored early witness tips, and were slow to act on leads. When a witness reported seeing someone who looked like Jennifer near a construction site, no follow-up interview was ever conducted. Another person claimed to have seen a man dumping something heavy into a nearby lake. Again, no record of an official search was found. Over time, the case simply faded from the headlines. And like too many other missing person cases, it turned cold. Years passed with no progress. So, in 2018, Jennifer's parents, Drew and Joyce Kesse, decided to take matters into their own hands.
Wrong has been done and a person has been taken against her will, and that's my daughter.
They filed a lawsuit against the Orlando Police Department to gain access to the case files. After a long legal battle, they finally received 14,000 pages of documents and 67 CDs of evidence. But what they found inside was shocking. Notes were incomplete, leads were ignored, and many files were simply missing or unorganized. One of the most disturbing discoveries was that the DNA samples collected early in the case were either never tested or were destroyed due to storage issues. Essentially, the investigation had been so mishandled that starting over felt almost impossible. Over the years, three main theories have dominated public discussion about what happened to Jennifer Kesse. The worker theory, the first and most widely accepted, is that one of the construction workers abducted her as she left for work that morning. It would explain the lack of forced entry and how someone could approach her without causing a scene. But without a full list of workers or interviews, that lead went cold. The abduction by a stranger. Another theory suggests Jennifer was followed or ambushed after leaving her apartment. Perhaps she was taken while walking to her car, or forced inside by someone she didn't recognize. The precision of the video footage and how quickly her car was abandoned makes some think it was a planned crime. The cover-up, and finally, the most controversial theory, that someone connected to the construction company, or even local authorities, helped bury the truth. This theory stems from how evidence vanished, how the video footage, coincidentally, hid the suspect's face, and how the police seemed unwilling to re-examine obvious mistakes. Today, nearly 2 decades later, Jennifer's case remains unsolved. Her parents continue their private investigation, refusing to give up hope. The Orlando police still list it as an active missing person case, but no significant updates have surfaced since 2019. Each year, the Kesse family releases a statement reminding the world that Jennifer was real, not a headline, not a theory, but a daughter, a sister, a friend. When you look at the facts, the lost evidence, the coincidental footage, the silence from officials, one question becomes impossible to ignore. If a young professional woman can disappear from her own home in a well-known neighborhood, and the system fails this badly, then how many other cases have been lost in the same way? Jennifer's story isn't just about a disappearance. It's about a system that was supposed to protect her and didn't. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there still knows what really happened that morning in Orlando. If you found this case as haunting as we did, Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned, because the truth may be closer than we think. This is the Dark Enigma.